and the Greater Dayton Area League of Women Voters presents Meet the Candidates, your chance to learn about the candidates running for office in the November election.
Hi, I'm Becky Kirkland, a member of the League of Women Voters, Greater Dayton Area, and I'm here today with candidates running for Butler Township Trustee. We have 5 candidates running, 3 of which were not able to be here today, and there's 2 seats available. Why don't we start off by having each candidate introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about yourself. If you want to start.
Thanks, Becky. First of all, thanks so much for having us here. My name is Mike Lang. I am a 24-year resident of Butler Township. I'm the oldest of my 4 siblings to graduate from Vandalia Butler High School. I went on to Purdue University, where I graduated with my Bachelor of Science in Organizational Leadership, and from there on to the University of Dayton, where I graduated with my Master's of Public Administration. I started my public safety career as a Butler Township firefighter at 18 years of age. From there, I was promoted through the ranks through captain and retired after 15 proud years of service. I started with the Englewood Police Department 21 years ago. I was a part-time dispatcher, became a full-time police officer, detective, and currently I'm a sergeant where I supervise the daytime operation for the police department, the administrative functions, the investigative section, as well as our regional communications center responsible for 50,000 people in North and West Montgomery County. I have 11 years as adjunct faculty and a police academy instructor at Sinclair Community College. And just this year, I was appointed by Governor Kasich to the Clean Ohio Council. I'm there to represent the interests of all Ohio townships as the council works to approve grants and loans to revitalize Ohio's brownfields. I'm incredibly proud here after serving my first term as Butler Township trustee of the work that we've accomplished. We have a lot more to go, and all along the way we've been challenging the status quo. I'm very much looking forward to the opportunity to continue to serve as trustee for another 4 years.
Thank you so much, Mike. Martin, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, my name is Martin Russell, and I am the proud husband of Laura Russell, and I have 2 great sons, Grant, which is 9, and Colin, which is 2. Moved into the community in 1998, where I served as a staff member at Smith Middle School in Butler Township for 6 years. Had the opportunity to leave education and spend 3 years on Congressman Mike Turner's staff, where I had responsibilities in multiple types of casework and also to be outreach into Montgomery and Warren County. That Warren County opportunity and experience moved me in 2007 to become the Deputy Director of Economic Development for Warren County, and then ultimately to the Director of that department. I also serve as the Executive Director of the Warren County Port Authority, where we have begun to branch out of Warren County and move into other markets. Because of that, I have had the opportunity to be a participant in over $1.2 billion worth of investments, thousands of jobs, and hundreds and actually millions of square feet of investment in Southwest Ohio. Like Mike, I proudly was very pleased and served humbly the last 4 years as a Butler Township trustee. As Mike had mentioned earlier, we have done a lot of new things to move the township forward. It's been a pleasure to sit beside him and work together on those initiatives, and I'd like to have the opportunity to take 4 more years and to do that and keep that ball moving forward. So again, thank you to the League of Women Voters and DATV for putting on this event. I think we appreciate the opportunity to share what we've been doing in Butler Township.
Thank you so much, Martin. Let's go ahead and start with the first question. Martin, I'll give that to you.
Okay.
And we want to know, what's the biggest challenge Butler Township has currently, and how would you address that challenge?
I think the biggest challenge that we still have to continue to move forward on is working to change the culture. When we came on as trustees, there were a significant amount of issues that we had to work to resolve, and I think we've done that well. I think there's still a lot to accomplish. I think, but at the heart of that is making sure that we continue to reduce budgets and drive the cost of providing the excellent services that we do for our residents of Butler Township, and do that at the same time that we balance out economic growth. Butler Township has Miller Lane, and that's provided a significant amount of benefits to the township, but we have to make sure we diversify that on an economic development front so that the types of businesses that we have are not draining the services. that residents also expect on a daily basis. So we've started that process. We brought in a new management team from the administration to the fire chief to the police chief, and we really look at those individuals have really looked at the bottom line. We brought on a new assistant administrator who's responsible as a part of her duties is economic development, and we're already seeing to bear some of the fruit of that because she's out visiting with businesses, understanding what their needs are, and looking to be more engaged with things like the Dayton Development Coalition and other regional development organizations. So those are the challenges. We've already started to accomplish those or get those resolved, and I think we will do that very well the next 4 years.
Thank you so much, Martin. And Mike, the biggest challenge facing Butler Township?
You know, I'm going to echo a lot of things Martin said, but it's important to realize too, we're two different people running our own campaigns, but also, as I'm quite often to say, there is no I in trustee. You know, everything we do involves the 3 board members coming together to hash out ideas in a rational, professional manner. And over the last 4 years, I'm rather proud of that accomplishment and what we've been able to do. Obviously, from here on forward, our biggest problem has consistently been the bottom line. The days of the township spending money freely on frivolous projects and not thinking things through has come to an end. In the last 4 years, we've reduced spending in the general fund by 23%, 15% across all the funds. Those days are here to stay. And as we move forward, even though we were able to successfully pass our joint economic development zone with voter approval just a few months ago, the bottom line is going to be the most important issue for the townships. You know, we've all suffered a reduction in revenue, whether it be cutbacks from the state, whether it be the devaluation of property taxes. So for us to be able to be nimble still and be strong as far as how we carry out our daily duties, the bottom line is paramount. And I'll second that up as well as making sure that we have department heads and professionals that share our view as far as being fiscally responsible to the township, and we certainly do that. 3 great individuals in charge of administration, police, and fire with 60+ years combined of public safety experience that have all come from larger organizations to bring their touch on Butler Township. That's going to help the board carry out our mission and help the respective departments also carry out their missions as well. We'll always have challenges, but having the right culture in place to deal with them will make us more successful in the long run. And frankly, I'm pretty excited about the days ahead.
Thank you, Mike. We'll go ahead and start you on question number 2. What are your views on the shared services initiatives? Do you feel that they will be beneficial for Butler Township?
Shared services certainly have their place, and we have taken some steps before in terms of the fire department joint staffing with the city of Vandalia. In all fairness, this is a process that started before we took term, but we actually made it happen. And in fact, shared services to me are important when it makes sense. It makes sense for us. The city of Vandalia and Butler Township are 2 jigsaw puzzle pieces. You know, a lot of times residents don't know where they are. For us to provide superior service to both residents of the township and Vandalia as well, it's for us to putting the closest and best response to that fire or emergency medical need. Our joint staffing does that. And it's not just simply symbolism over substance to say, yes, we went out and did something together. We're actually doing it. You know, if a call comes in, Butler Township firefighters can jump on a Vandalia piece of fire apparatus and vice versa. That's when it makes sense. We don't just do it to make it sound good, to pat ourselves in the back, but for us to actually make a difference in our communities. When it comes to public safety, fire, and EMS, those are some of the most important duties a township has to administer to the community. Let's take it head on, let's make it work, and if it means sharing that service with somebody else to make it more efficient, more effective, I'm all for it. Our actions have demonstrated just that.
Great, thank you, Mike. And Martin, what are your views on the shared services?
I think as Mike has articulated, the board has worked the last 4 years to address shared services, and we have practical ways that are being demonstrated in the community right now. We have the Vandalia Butler school system that actually joins both of our communities together, but there are still some differences, and residents are aware of that. So I think it needs to be a slow and steady type of course, but I think it actually has to be built from the ground up, and that's what we've done. Each of our communities, Vandalia and Butler Township, have benefit from the shared services that we have in the fire department. From future capital expenses that neither of us would have to sit there and pursue, which goes to cutting the bottom line or keeping the bottom line very minimal. And that's because we're able to share each other's fire stations, and as Mike pointed out, we get on the other's apparatus and go out to respond to a call. I think the difference becomes is who's initiating the shared service. If it's initiated at the local level, where both communities or a multitude of communities are interacting with one another and are discussing their needs and how they mutually can benefit one another, then there's true ownership to that shared service, and that shared service will succeed. The difference becomes when you have a county system that wants to push down shared services without experimenting themselves as to how that's going to sit there and work. So I think a lot of times we're going to have to look at what is the county potentially doing? Are all their systems interlocked together? How has that worked? Is that something that other townships and cities in Montgomery County want to also look at? So I think the bottom up, the slow and steady approach is much better than having that push down from the county government, something specifically that's not been tested at this point.
Great, thank you, Martin. Question number 3. We will start with Mike. As cities continue to grow and need space, and citizens want more services such as water, garbage pickup, etc., annexation seems inevitable. Do you see this as an issue?
Certainly. We're experiencing it right now with the city of Union. The north part of the township, north of 40, they've been annexing and have made no bones about it that they are out there to build an industrial park, which betters their city. The hard thing for us is we know that legally the township stands little ground to be able to stop such annexation. And certainly historically, we've spent tens of thousands of dollars trying to fight it in court, and in the end, losing with really nothing to show for it. So for us, I mean, property rights are huge. That person owns the property. They certainly have a right to do with it what they want. If that means they want to pursue annexation to a city, I understand that. We, of course, want to also offer exceptional services and a low tax rate to have people stay in the township, but it does come down to the owner of what they want to do. In the case we're experiencing now with Union, we have a lot of residents being encroached on this huge facility that Union's putting in. So our position here is to advocate for the residents, and certainly over the last couple months, that is exactly what we have been doing. Their needs are paramount to us. They want to be in the township. We're going to do everything we can to work with the other agencies, whether it be the county, the TID, the City of Union, to make sure their experience and their quality of life changes as minimally as possible. But certainly at the end of the day, it is that property owner's right to decide what they want to do. Of course, we'd like them to stay in the township, and we believe we can offer services and a quality of life to encourage them to do so.
Great, thank you, Mike. And Martin, how do you feel about annexation?
I think as a township trustee, you don't like to see a part of the community that you serve be annexed, but it is also a private-to-private transaction. If there's a developer that is trying to buy a piece of land and that person is willing to sell and that they would like to have it annexed for some type of service, whether it be a road, water, sewer, that's their choice. I think that we will try as hard as we can to defend that, and we want to do so. And then we also want to hear if there's opportunities that we can bring some of those services to those residents. And if we can't, that may be their decision to attempt to annex. But I think this goes back to the question before. And this really is addressing of how the county is going to define regionalism. Both Mike and I have been doing a lot of emails that specifically to the county as it relates to the project in Union. And we're very blessed, I think, that we're going to have such a large economic development project that is going to be in northern Montgomery County that is going to benefit not only the tax base of the City of Union, obviously, the tax base for Montgomery County, but is going to be employment opportunities for folks that are in Butler Township, Vandalia, and all of northern Montgomery County. However, I think it comes down to that regionalism approach. How is the county going to work with Union, work with the City of Dayton, because the City of Dayton has the airport, which is right by that area, and Butler Township, to make sure that all the residents are made whole and that this development is not done at the expense of other constituents of the county. So I think when we go to the discussion of regionalism, put that in there with annexation. Mike and I, as the board, as two members of the board, we're living that today, and I think that we're going to have to sit there and see how that plays itself out over time.
Okay, great, Martin. And next, what question didn't I ask you that you wish I would have? We'll start with you, Martin.
I think I think you started off with it, I mean, a little bit as far as different things that we've kind of improved upon, but maybe what steps we've been taking to really sort of change the culture of Butler Township. We've both touched on this, is that we as an elected board know that we cannot be there at the day-to-day needs as our staff are. And one of the things very early on that we needed to address was having a high level of professionalism that was being out there within the community on a daily basis, meeting the needs of the residents. And we have worked significantly hard to change that culture. And that culture goes into several different things within inside of the township. Mike has discussed it, and so have I, the need to have a budget that is significantly looked at constantly. That we don't run just a budget when times are tough, but we run a budget that is low when times are good, so that we can demonstrate to the community that we are watching their taxpayer dollars. And the staff that we have in place are quite capable and very fit to do that. I think we have something from it seems very ordinary and something that might be kind of a no-brainer to folks. But Mike and I and our other fellow trustees have done a very good job in respecting the constituents that stand in front of us. We do this because even if they disagree with our positions, it is their right to stand in front of us and have their voices heard. And we want to make sure that that continues. We are appropriately interacting with residents. We are appropriately interacting with staff. And at the end of the day, that culture is starting to bear fruit, and bear fruit very productively for Butler Township. So I think a little bit more of how we've gotten to those points, I think, is very critical to discuss.
Okay, thanks, Martin. And Mike, any question I didn't ask you?
A question, statement, I'll kind of make it work both ways.
Great.
You know, I have historical institutional knowledge. With my first term as trustee, just under 20 years of time with Butler Township. When I ran for office, I knew to a certain degree what I was getting into. I knew how things were before, and I knew certainly that I did not want them to continue that way. It was for our own detriment. My mantra really has been actions speak louder than words. Look at all the candidates. Look who's running. In fact, you know what? Look who's here right now. There's two of us here. And Martin and I actually both took vacation time from work to be here, because to us, this is part of the role of what we do to serve the community. It's any time of day, all hours, email, text messages, phone calls, to get the job done. Actions speak louder than words. Look back over the last 4 years and see what the township has accomplished. I'm incredibly proud of what we've been able to do, and I really feel that our best days are still ahead. It's going to be a lot of hard work still, and certainly we cannot be everything to everyone, and there will be decisions made that not everybody likes. But you don't do things for political expediency. You do them because it's the right thing to do. You make the decision on what's best for all of us. Butler Township is an awesome community. I've been blessed to have been a part of it for such a long time, and I can't imagine living anywhere else. Because of that, I want our government to continue to be transparent. I want our government to continue to be responsible. And I certainly want our government to continually to be fiscally mindful of what that bottom line is. It's a great place. I've thoroughly enjoyed serving the last 4 years, and I truly hope to serve another 4.
Great, thank you. Martin, anything else you would like to talk about as a closing statement?
I think to take on what Mike said about actions speak louder than words, we really haven't touched, I think, on some of the accomplishments that the board has done the last 4 years. Mike made mention that we have reduced the general fund by 23%, the overall fund by 15%. But we've done things. We have worked collaboratively with our bargaining units to get the first ever contributions to their pensions and to their health care. Prior to taking office, 100% was paid by the township. That's not heard of not only in government units, but it's not also heard of in private sector. And we had to bring our township in line with those sectors. We were able to do that over a 3-year period with our 3 bargaining units, and I think that's an accomplishment that we can be proud of, and we very much appreciate the support of those bargaining units in doing that. We retired debt, $1.4 million worth of debt 14 years early. And the remaining outstanding balance we took from a 5% interest rate to a 2.3% interest rate. That's an accomplishment I think we can be proud of, and one that we can sit there and build on. We did that at the same time as working to build the physical assets and the physical plans of Butler Township for decades to come. We've worked to sit there and bring on a new township administration building that brings the police and the admin departments together at 1/4 of the price of what was previously discussed in the last administration. We have also sat there and worked to bring back a fire station that is a symbol inside of our community, and we are currently now bringing that back up to standards so that it can go for the next 20, 30 years. All of this while driving those costs down. We came in and settled lawsuits immediately that were draining not only the financial health of the Butler Township, but the morale of several different departments. That's an accomplishment. Those are things that I would like to sit there and continue to work on. We don't know what's going to come in front of us as a board, but we want to sit there and make the next 4 years even more successful than these.
Thank you, Martin. Anything else, Mike?
You know, once again, I say there's no I in trustee. We and the board, all three of us for that matter, can speak of the accomplishments that have happened over the last 4 years. And you know, Martin and I are, although we both want the same end game, how we get there may be different. And we take the meetings to flesh out what those ideas are, what those approaches are. I believe in totally playing to everyone's strengths. And certainly some things I will defer to him on, or I'll defer to the third trustee on, or I will push forward my own advocacy for what I believe the path is. But in the end, it's the board that makes these things happen. And the board, I believe, has really done a lot to take the township from much more stable ground from the turmoil that it was when we first took office. I mean, if you figure about being embroiled in 2 lawsuits, and the township having to then pay off $500,000 in legal fees and back pay to make things right, versus what was a basic management decision, it's sad. But we've moved past that. We're not moving into a 43,000 square foot police administration building. As Martin said, we're moving into a building a quarter the size. There are 8,000 people in the township. Every township resident does not need their own 5 square feet to function in our government building. I'm proud of the accomplishments we've made. We do have a lot more work to do. You cannot lose sight of the ball. You cannot fall asleep at the wheel. And the board's pressure on staff to maintain that same philosophy is carried through. And I believe they will be very successful in carrying out the roles in their individual departments. And certainly the board will not lose sight of the big picture. The township residents want to have exceptional services. They want to be responded to when they have a problem. And they certainly want the financial well-being of the township smartly tended to. If elected again for 4 more years, I promise and I pledge to do exactly that. Thanks.
Thank you, Mike. And as I mentioned previously, there are 5 candidates running for the 2 seats available. Nick Brewski, Joe Flanagan, and Eleanor Lewis were unable to join us today. I'd like to thank both Martin and Mike for joining us, and I wish you both the best of luck in your campaign.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Betty.
The League of Women Voters would also like to thank DATV for partnering with us. And as of October 14th, we will have a hotline. You can call 228-4041 for any questions about where you need to vote or similar questions. And remember, the League of Women Voters is nonpartisan. We do not endorse any campaign or any candidate running for office. Thank you both again for being here today.
Thanks.
Thank you.